Welcome back to the 1905 podcast. Joe and myself in person for you today to talk about all things Chelsea. And Joe, I'm just going to start straight off with, for me, the big news. We've gone and done it. Chelsea have signed a goalkeeper. Emi Martinez, we've all been crying out for it for so long. We said, obviously, after the game against Fulham on Monday night that we'd love it to happen. You even mentioned Martinez's name specifically, but we thought it wouldn't happen. We just thought it's just not going to happen. How do you feel? How do you feel about this?
I think it was the obvious choice. I was trying to speak into happening. Sanchez, as I said on the podcast last week, that it wasn't, I didn't think he would leave. It was more a case of, I think Chelsea were happy with what they've got. I think they'll of course sit on him for a little while, maybe babysit that position for another 6 months, a year, and we're going to be a bit disappointed. But overall, he'll do okay. The fact that he's come on Martinez so soon after, one match, and 3 days later, Alonso's just said, no, not good enough. I need something better than that. It just speaks volumes. And I think that theory that you said right from the very off when Alonso signed, is he going to be the manager that's going to be like, no, we need this and this because at the moment what we've got isn't good enough? Already after one transfer window in all positions, really, I think Alonso's certainly the man at the top.
Completely right. And what a statement it was, really, for one game, like you say, for him to go, no, this has got to change. Let's talk about Martinez specifically. I think we've been lightly talking about him as a goalkeeper for about 4 years as an option for Chelsea, probably ever since Argentina won the World Cup. And some really smart people go back even longer when he was at Arsenal. Do you remember he played against us in the FA Cup final for Arsenal? And when they beat us, I think it's when Conte was in charge. And he's always been one of those keepers that's just grown in reputation, has felt like a really smart signing for years. And then if you go back 2 years, you're like, because of Penders, Martinez would be a smart bet, wouldn't he? And it's never happened. I like it so much. I think for twofold. For Penders, who we saw obviously for the first time in a Chelsea shirt last night against Luton, didn't have much to do but looked comfortable, but clearly they see him as the future. You're bringing in someone, Martinez, a 2-year deal at 33, doesn't block Penders' path long term, feels like someone he could probably learn quite a lot from as well. I love that about it. I love that he's a mentality monster. And that was the phrase that kept coming out. That's what Alonso's looking for from the signings this summer. We've seen it obviously with Henderson, but you look at him, yeah, he's a bit of I think Matt Law said a bit of a twit at times, but he's got the personality, he's got the confidence, hasn't he? Just got this, he's got every single time he walks up to that Matthew Harding stand and the shed before the game, he's going to get a massive reception. He's going to get the crowd going. I love that about him. And I think the biggest thing, and people have been putting out numbers on mistakes made about Sanchez, and we all know he's not always been bad, he's not always been good, he's been up and down. It's about not just the mistakes that lead to goals for Sanchez for me, it's the confidence it gives the defence in front of you, isn't it? And Joe, you can talk about this better than I can, but we said it after the game on Monday, that first back pass that goes back to Sanchez. Actually, there was two things. Sanchez, the first thing he did is kick the ball out of play, right from kickoff. Luckily, we scored not long after, so it didn't matter. But then the big moment was Acheampong played the ball back, he lets it out for a corner. Now, they don't score from that corner. So statistically, you don't see anything. But from that point forward, the Fulham fans are on him. The whole defence is hearing that. Sanchez is hearing that. It's the confidence. I just think with Martinez in goal, we're just going to all feel a bit more relaxed watching Chelsea. And we're not going to talk about title talk today. We'll come on to that later. But it does feel like a game-changing signing for me.
Yeah, I don't think you can underestimate the feeling of having a goalkeeper that's just so confident behind you and barking orders out and telling you where to be. We've all played football, right? It doesn't matter what level you've played, good, bad, or ugly. If you've got a goalie behind you that's shouting and putting fear into the opposition in some cases, then it can only be a good thing. I've played with so many goalkeepers. Some were very good, but very timid, didn't speak to you and weren't prepared to almost call anybody out. And actually, as a goalkeeper, you need that. You want a little bit of a kick up the arse sometimes. You want someone to say to you, no, you weren't doing your job properly there. And also, it needs to be someone who has that respect. The guy's won a World Cup. He got to a World Cup final this summer. Obviously, he's had some brilliant games for Aston Villa. Like you say, Arsenal career, played amongst some of the best players in Argentina. He's coming from a position, particularly with Lacroix, who has got very limited Premier League time, really. Acheampong, another one, a youth team player, basically, who's come through and who's doing really, really well. Both these players are going to be great, by the way. Levi Colwill, even, has got no experience. We're talking like top-end experience. These are all very good players, don't get me wrong, and I think Chelsea's back three, back four is going to look really good this season. But they are going to need help. And when it goes to shit, I mean, this is the thing, when it goes wrong, that's when you need Martinez or a goalkeeper of his ilk to come in and say, at half-time maybe, or whatever, this is not what we're going to do from now on. Or I'm making the decision that actually you're not going to pass back to me, or you're not going to do this, or whatever it might be in the game. You're going to do as I say because I've got the experience. Maybe there's 10 minutes to go and Chelsea are on the back foot and we're constantly passing back and passing back. Martinez might just go, we're just going to go long here. I don't want to see the ball back to me. Just keep it in the far corner. Whatever it might be, that's what you need in your goalkeeper. Sometimes it's little things, sometimes it's big things. But I would say that having that confidence put into your back three, back four is massive. And you saw it against Fulham. We were all over the place. Just a little periods where Sanchez was making those little errors, like you say, these tiny little errors over and over again. And you can see players just going, oh, no, here we go again. It had to change. It sounds mental. I was listening to I think it was the radio yesterday or the day before. This is before Martinez had signed, or was about to sign, sorry, I should say. And they were just going, Chelsea have got this wonderful team. They've built this side out. They've got all these wonderful players. They've gone from some experience here and experience there. And they've got Brighton's second or third choice in goal. And I don't mean that to be disrespectful to the guy, because he's actually done okay at times, but that's what we've got. He's basically Kevin Hitchcock. He's your number two, playing as number one in this wonderful side. Kevin Hitchcock was a great servant for the club. You wouldn't want him in goal every week. That's what we're dealing with. It just seemed mad that we had that situation. So the fact that it's been rectified in one game, I think I'm in a way pleased that we managed to win that game against Fulham, and Sanchez had a bit of a stinker. Because best of both worlds, Sanchez, had he played wonderfully well, we might have been going, oh no, Alonso might think he's all right. And that goalkeeper coach, Ben Roberts, might have been saying, oh, do you know what? He's got something, stick with him. The fact he made two, I think, howlers and a few other little mistakes here and there, I think that was the final nail in the coffin. And Martinez is going to be a huge boost for Chelsea. And it really does, I think, flip us upside down from being also rans to possibly contenders.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's a weird one. It's a great price as well. It's worth saying, about 7.5 million. It's one of those that came through really quickly yesterday. You're like, oh my God, is this actually going to happen? We're all getting quite excited. And then it obviously got confirmed. And I was just like willing it. Like you said, just willing, please let us not drop this. Please let it not just come out, oh no, the deal's off now and Chelsea can stick with what they've got. It felt like so pivotal to our season that we fixed that problem, and I'm just glad we did it. Why we didn't do it earlier in the summer, when it's something we've known about for so long, is a different conversation. But the fact we've done it, we're very happy. Right, after this, we will talk about Luton. Right, Joe, Luton last night, 2 midweek games in 1 week was a novelty. Again, from my point of view, just really enjoyed the game. Loved watching us play under Alonso. It's a breath of fresh air, isn't it, generally? First thing that jumped out to me was I'm going to have to give up for a little while trying to predict Alonso's starting lineups, because I thought he'd make 8 or 9 changes. We'd see a much rotated side. It was very strong, wasn't it? Like, immediate things that jumped out to me was like, oh my God, Morgan, Rogers and Palmer are playing. I thought they'd be nowhere near the pitch, maybe not even on the bench. What did you make of that? What did it tell you in terms of just how strong he went from the off?
It's quite funny because I didn't tell you this, but you put on our WhatsApp group, does he know we've got a game at the weekend? And I just smiled at that. And I was like, I think he bloody does, but equally, he knows he's got to win, not win, but he's got to be in amongst all these competitions all year long. We're not in Europe. So you've got to go for everything. So my immediate reaction was, I'm pleased. I didn't want to see half a youth team at this time of the season. Because Luton, to be fair to them, they defended unbelievably well. And if they defend like that, they're going to come up no problem in League One. They were a tough nut to crack, and we could not get that goal. And the longer it goes on, I had no fear that we were going to lose the game. But you're just going, hope it doesn't get to like the 80th minute and it's still 0-0. We're having to desperately bring on João Pedro to try and win the game, and maybe it doesn't happen. And I presume it goes straight to penalties as well. So there's an element of that, and you're going, oh, that you could go out on that, no problem. So I was pleased he went strong. I was pleased that we got that goal early in the second half, and it just calmed everyone down. And even when Esteval took that shot that I knew was going wide from first glance, but it got turned in, I went, okay, I can actually relax now. Because you never know. Luton go down the other end and get some dodgy penalty, or they throw a corner in and it goes off someone's arse and 1-1 with a minute to go. You go, oh no. So really pleased that Esteval got that kind of, it was an own goal in the end, that cross-come shot. And it was a brilliant decision, I think, to play a strong side. And like you said, I think at the end of the game, nice to keep that confidence going and building on that momentum from Fulham.
It felt like that, didn't it, to me? I think momentum. It's like, let's keep this rolling, keep Palmer on the pitch. Palmer, again, just looked like he really enjoyed himself. He's unlucky not to score a couple of times, isn't he? And actually, there was a few. Morgan Rogers nearly got 3 and 3, if you include pre-season, with the one that hit the bar. Gittens, one at the end that hit the post. On another day, it's 4 or 5, isn't it? And that would have not flattered us, to be fair. And I thought their goalkeeper played really well. Palmer got man of the match on the TV, but for me, my man of the match was someone who I'd said on our little WhatsApp group before. I thought he's gonna surprise people, he's gonna impress people. It was a really good article I'd read about him early in the week, but I thought Barco was brilliant, and I know that you did too. I'll hand over to you to say it. What I loved about him was he's very recognisable, isn't he, on the pitch? You're not going to miss him. So if the Boo Boys for Argentina are going to want to pick him out, as a few of the away fans were yesterday, then that's going to go on a while, because he's not hard to miss. But he's really dynamic, isn't he? What I like is everything's 1 and 2 touch. He moves it really quickly. He's buzzes around the pitch really fast. If you look at his movement, he's such an intelligent player. He's obviously been told to take off that left, taking the left channel to let Chavarria tuck inside at times. He was doing that. He had the most touches of any Chelsea player on the day. His passing was unbelievable. He clips these little balls. He played that lovely little through ball to Esteval in the first half, didn't he? Where Esteval really should have scored. He actually put in a beautiful clip cross for Acheampong right at the end of the game, where, again, I think Acheampong was offside but should have scored anyway. He looks like it could be a bit of a surprise addition, actually, and a really useful player. And I look at him and think he'll get lots of minutes, I think, under Alonso, because I think Alonso will like his versatility, and it won't always be starting games. We know that, but you could see him being a really useful player. What did you like about him?
Honestly, mate, not a lot to add. I'm really pleased you mentioned those 2 passes. The one in the first half to Esteval, the low one to his feet, and obviously made a bit of a mess of it. And then at the end, with Josh Acheampong being offside, I'd actually said to my son, I was like, look at this, look at the way he's moving the ball. And I said, he can really see a pass. And as I said that, he went boom to Acheampong at the back post. And I was like, oh, great timing. I think he's great. Really do. And I know that Chelsea, I'm not going to come onto the Fernandez thing right now, but obviously the heavy links of him leaving to go to Manchester City. But we're desperate to get this central midfield player in. Desperate. The fan base wants that replacement. We've said it ourselves. But part of me does sit there and go, what if? What if you've got him? I know you said that you don't think he's going to play every week and whatever. Probably won't if we sign a replacement. But how do these players get good? How do Brighton and Bournemouth make these stars in Alex Scott? They play them. And I think the frustrating thing for me is we haven't got Europe. So it's a great opportunity to actually just keep playing the same team, rinse and repeat. Caicedo's not played, obviously, yet. Imagine Caicedo next to him. I just think that'd be great together. And I don't think as an option, that is a bad option at all. And I think Chelsea will buy a replacement if Enzo Fernandez goes. No question. But sometimes I just think that the overload of, and this need and the want to buy players all of the time, I think sometimes just blocks the path for these guys. Because say Barco plays 12 games this season. Is that enough for him? I don't think it is. For a player, from what I saw last night, and yes, it's Luton, I'm not getting ahead of myself. He didn't play against Man City or someone. But I would like to see someone like him being given the opportunity to grow into a side. And this, what happens? You've got Lavia, then you've got Barco, then you've got Caicedo, you've got one other. Where do they all go? I know you need a squad. I get it. But I think in a season where you haven't got Europe and there's limited game time, I just think you just pad it out too much. But for me, on a one-off game, from what I saw last night, I thought Barco was exceptional. And I hadn't really seen a lot of him. I know you had. Personally, I haven't seen a lot of him. So really surprised and really pleased with him.
He first came into my attention on a FIFA career mode game that I had about 5 years ago, where he was like a wonder kid left back. And then Brighton signed him. And me and my mate were like, oh, look, it's the guy we had on FIFA. He's at Brighton now. But he's really highly rated. He's left-footed as well, which is something you talked about before about having that balance alongside Caicedo, and I think you could see it, just the different passing angles that it opens up having that. So yeah, really like that. I want to pick out two other players from, not just from last night, but I think from this week. Josh Acheampong. Josh, I was worried in pre-season. He felt like he was in the B group a little bit, not getting starts. Obviously, Fofana's has been suspended, which has been probably one of the reasons. But it's been a long time since he started 2 games consecutively for Chelsea. Played 290 minutes as well. Number one, I'm really just happy about that because I really hoped that we'd start to see him grow and give him more time. What have you made of his performances? And I'll let you jump in on the second part of that. What have you made of Lacroix alongside him? To talk about those. I know you talked about Lacroix, especially on Monday night, and you were impressed as well. But again, last night.
Yeah, completely different game because Chelsea had all of the ball last night. It was basically camped in Luton's half, pretty much for 2 halves there. I thought against Fulham, Acheampong played well. There were a couple of times, particularly, I don't know if you may have not seen it, but there was about a minute left of injury time and the ball got played into our half. It's a hopeful pass. And he didn't deal with it. He just basically booted it straight down to the Fulham player and had another chance. They're the things he needs to iron out slightly, particularly against the better teams, because they're the mistakes that suddenly you play Liverpool's and Arsenal's, Declan Rice or someone, or to just whack it in the top corner. So I think they're the things if you're going to clear it, get it 60 yards away, don't drop it in front of your box. But that's a very small thing. He did an amazing slide tackle in the first half. I read the danger. Chelsea were a little bit of trouble. He came across and did a superb block against Fulham. He has all the defensive skills. He's obviously got a very good head on him. He doesn't get riled easily. He's not someone that I've noticed that goes around and is getting yellow cards, picking up yellow cards for like fouling or dissent. So I like that about him. He's obviously got a good aerial presence. He's a tall guy. I think he probably needs a little bit more weight on him. That'd be my honest opinion. I think he'd do with the bulking up a little bit in there. You look at Lacroix next to Acheampong. Now, you haven't all got to be a boxer to play centre-back. Get it. Because you don't want to lose your speed as well. But I just think he could do with a little bit more muscle up top, and I think that will come. That's 2 or 3 years down the line. You're probably looking at a different player. Like you, really happy to see him start. I'm pleased that, not pleased, but the fact that Fofana had that red card against Sunderland last season has meant he hasn't been able to play yet. The fact he's had that opportunity to come in and show Alonso that I'm ready to play and I'm good enough for this team, I think has been great, and it won't do him any harm. As for Lacroix, again, very accomplished last night. You see this, do you not think he looks huge? He looks absolutely massive, but not in a bad way. He looks like someone that could just run through a wall. And not only that, he's so fast. He's so quick. Yes, the thing I wanted to say, I did say it, but on the last podcast about him getting squared up. You remember where Josh King comes inside, and not to repeat myself on this, but that I saw it in the World Cup when he played for France, particularly against England. And there was another game in the group stages where when he gets ran at with a ball, he's not very good at getting himself in a position where he can make a block. He turns his body very square on, and that's when you lose all your balance and you're out the game. Then any good striker will just literally shift it and score, or certainly shift it and shoot. So that's the one thing, the one small, and I'm being really picky, but the pair of them together, obviously Levi had the night off last week, which is good. Obviously he's still coming back from injury. He's recovering slightly from his bad one last season. So pleased that he got the night off, but just, you can't ask for much more. They're both playing very well. They both are keen to impress the manager. So you've got that on our side. And as a pairing, I think they look great. And I think Colwill adding into that mix. I mean, I heard Cole get a few pelters against Fulham, a bit like he was not as good as people think. And I'm like, come on, guy. This is what drives me mad with football. It's like Levi Colwill has a half, not even a poor game, but makes 1 or 2 tiny errors. And suddenly it's unless I wouldn't play him next week. And you're going, are you mad? Like, he's going to be captain of the club one day. He's that good. He's brilliant. So I think we're very blessed with Josh, Lacroix and Colwill currently in the side.
Interesting to see if Fofana comes straight back into the team on Sunday, or whether it's Josh's shirt to keep. That be one to watch against Brighton, I think. Final thought from me on the Luton game, and it's been the theme of both games so far, is the work rate. And just this feel that Alonso has got them drilled and got them. It feels like, you and me were messaging last night, it feels like not even a different team, it feels like a different club in terms of just like everyone's on it. It just, you could see from right from kickoff, didn't you? Obviously, we were progressing the ball and like, we're on it here. Everyone's on it. 8 shots in the first 25 minutes, was it, I think? And then you and I again message Pedro Neto, who we dug out a little bit after the game on Monday for shushing Reece James, his sprint back right in the last minute of the game to try and protect a clean sheet against Luton in the Carabao Cup, I thought was amazing. There just is this energy. Morgan Rogers did it in the first half at one point, defending a counter-attack from a corner. He was the last man back. You can see him sprint. I'm like, wow, like there is that attitude change, and you can see it. And do you know what it made me actually think is, we got used to not seeing it. You like default to our team doesn't do that. You watch Arsenal and other teams going, oh, they really want it. Wait, that's what Chelsea used to be. And you can see that if there's one thing Alonso's brought in so far, it's this attitude change. And Palmer, who has been doing so much media, talked about it as well, talked about this different feel about the place and this different feeling. But I just really watched that in obviously Fulham the other night, but again last night, thinking, oh yeah, everyone looks like they're excited and want to be part of it. Any other final comments from me on the Luton game, Joe?
I think let's just stick on what you just said there, like the work rate and the energy levels. You get so ingrained in hearing Maresca speak and Rosenior speak or whatever, and you go, oh, I'm getting a bit blinded by the fact that Maresca wants to play 4-2-3-1 and we don't run around very hard, and you're getting outrun in every single game. Last season, every single game we got outrun. And then you can argue, does that matter? Whatever. I think it does. I really do. I think the biggest stat is the possession one, which obviously you touched on last week in the podcast. 38% possession. Didn't feel like it against Fulham. That was my point. When you play a game and you have 60% of the ball, but you can't go anywhere with it because the team is sat in and they're just trying to block you off at every opportunity. Even last night, when Luton were camped in their box, Chelsea were creating numerous chances. We could have scored 3 or 4 goals easily, but our shooting was just way off in that first half. You can watch a game of football sometimes and it feel like you're playing counter-attacking football. I didn't think that Chelsea, it didn't feel like we played counter-attacking football against Fulham. It felt like we had a lot more of the ball than we actually did. Does that make sense? Like with Maresca and people like him, and City are going to find this out when they play this season, they're going to have a lot of the ball and it's going to go rinse, recycle, back to their goalkeeper, to the centre-back again, back to the goalkeeper again. They're going to come away with 80% possession in some games and you're going to go, oh, they lost 1-0 or they drew 1-1. And they're going to feel a bit disappointed. I think with Alonso, I'm happy if we have 45% of the ball or 40% of the ball, but actually we create 15 more chances every single game. I want to see exciting, fun football. And I had lost that, and I'm sure you had as well. Like Alonso play, and you see the way that we're moving that ball. And you're quite right to call out Pedro Neto doing what he did last night, and Morgan Rogers, Palmer himself. Everybody's chasing back. There was a point where Barco was running literally like the Flash, trying to get back to try and chase someone down. Everybody's doing it. There's not like one person that's not. And the one case that we have seen was when Neto shushed Reece James the other night. That's the only time we've seen a player not run back, and he hasn't done it since. So you'd think that someone got hold of Neto midweek and just said, look, we've seen it. It's out there. The world's seen it. You look like a prat. And you can't shush the captain of the club. You just can't do it. And I think one thing I just do want to touch on is, if you haven't seen it, which I'm sure with all social media now, most people have, but Jordan Henderson getting hold of Reece James after the game against Fulham, when they were doing the clapping and the well dones, Henderson is on in a tracksuit and a cap, or black cap or whatever. And I didn't even notice it originally. It wasn't until someone said, oh, that's Henderson. You go, yeah, it is. He gets hold of him and they're having a full chat after the game. And he's basically saying to him, like, well done on organising, well done on this. And you can see him like a bit like Pep used to do, gesturing to like here and here, moments in the games that's just been played. And I thought that Henderson's behind the scenes work on Reece James, maybe it's not a thing, but to me, it definitely looks like it is, because Reece James has been like a different captain the last 2 games. He looks so encouraging and he's digging people out in a good way. And I think that experience that Danny Welbeck spoke about last night, it just cannot be overlooked. And having Martinez now into that mix as well, I think is going to be nothing short of sensational.
Great way to finish this part of the show. I think he does look like a different captain, and not a surprise, is it? He was doing it without anyone more experienced to help him out. So it's a massive change, massive shift. Right, after this break, we are going to talk about hopefully the end of this ongoing saga that is Enzo Fernández. Enzo Fernández, Joe. Oh, This is dragging, isn't it? Dragging. It looks like it's finally going to happen. He's probably going to go to Man City. Before we talk about replacements, and we will talk about that, he hasn't handled this great, has he? To be honest. And I wanted to ask for your thoughts on how you feel about him. Yes, all of the rumours obviously earlier in the year, it came out was April time that he wanted to go to Madrid. And we've always said, if a player wants to go to basically Barcelona or Real Madrid, it's very hard to stop that. The Madrid move doesn't happen. For all intents and purposes, he seems absolutely desperate to get out of Chelsea to go to Man City. Sounds like he asked not to be involved in the squad last night. And I don't know, I feel like he's ruined it a bit for me. And he's worn the Chelsea captain's armband multiple times. He's done lots of badge tapping. He's been the one that's called out Mason Mount, hasn't he, when he's come back to Chelsea and been the one fronting him up. He's been the one giving the same to Madueke and Havertz over the time. And I look at him and think, the Chelsea fans were singing your name on Monday night, mate. And yeah, I don't know what kind of reception he's going to get now coming back with Man City, particularly in Enzo Maresca, Man City side. So it has left a little bit of a nasty taste in my mouth. I hope that Chelsea stand firm on the fee. Again, that keeps being rumoured, but I hope we get over 120 million for him now. Before we talk about replacements, there's lots of rumours going out today. How do you feel about him generally, and are you just over it?
Yeah, basically. I'm a bit over it. Yeah, he's not covered himself in any glory, is he? He's been very quiet. Whilst he came on as a substitute against Fulham, he did okay. He was completely fine. But I just think now, you called it literally, when we signed him, pretty much, maybe a year after, you were like, I don't see him being at the club in 3 years or 4 years. And Caicedo probably will be. Caicedo signed a new contract last season when basically we were playing terribly. So you feel that he's getting assurances. And Enzo is about to leave. So you called it, literally couldn't have called it any more perfect if you tried. So I think that with Enzo, he'll always be a player searching for that next thing. He might go to City and end up being there 2 or 3 seasons, and then I think Madrid or Barcelona or someone like that might come in for him again, and he might end up doing the same sort of thing to them as he has done to us. So he's not been vocal in the sense that he's not been shouting that he wants to leave, but I think probably behind the scenes from just 1 or 2 people that I know and hear that he's been definitely pushing for this, and his reasoning for not wanting to play last night, I think obviously it makes sense because he wants to play for Man City in the Carabao Cup going forward. So I presume he would have been cup tied. So yeah, a bit over it. But like you say, I heard someone say last night on the TV that City should go in 80 and 85 million because Chelsea are now, it's near the end of the window. And I'm like, they're never going to accept that. Like, they are never, ever. They will just say, we're not selling him. They want at least 107. They want what they paid for him as a bare minimum. And there's got to be a little bit on top. And if Chelsea were, you can argue they looked a little bit weak by saying last week, this is the deadline. But basically pay up or shut up. And they didn't pay. So now to me, I'm like, it's 130 now. That's the way I see, that's business. It was 120. If you wanted him last week, it was 120. It's now 130. Or you meet in the middle, 125, but you've got to get something on top, personally, for me. But yeah, he's not going to be a Chelsea player. I'm almost 100% committed about that and confirmed. So yeah, we move on and life moves on without him.
Yeah. People will be shouting at the podcast saying he did to Benfica what he's doing to us, and he'll probably do it to Man City if it is about him. I think the final comment on Fernandes is that I think we'll be better off without him, because I don't think he fits this shape very well that Alonso wants to play. I think we've seen that. Of course, you'd find a place for him, but I don't think it's perfect. And he was obviously a key part of the leadership group that was at Chelsea. And it was a leadership group that wasn't working very well at all. I think we've talked about the fact he hasn't really ever bothered to learn English. I think might still be the case, doesn't know much English. And the fact that we're rebuilding a very new look squad, team, club, I think you move on from him and maybe 1 or 2 others that we'll talk about. But yeah, I'm over it.
Just one last thing, why are you leaving now? That's my biggest bugbear with him. You've been here, I don't know, is it 3 or 4 seasons? I don't actually know. 3.5 seasons maybe, and you've dealt with some shit. The team not being very good or whatever, players coming in that you didn't think were good enough or whatever. And now the club have made a real change this season to say, no, we're gonna fully go in on a different style of workings, basically, older players, etc., more experienced, better players here and there, and you're leaving. That to me, I could understand it if you were going to go to Spain or Italy in some cases, but to go to Man City with a manager that I think is a bit bang average, dare I say it, I just find crazy. I don't get it. They're clearly going to treble his wages, and for that reason alone, I don't blame him.
I think it's that. I think he's got an agent in his ear saying, let's get you a big move, get the Champions League, and a manager who's selling him the dream and obviously loves him. But I think, and I hope, he looks back and it ends up being a big mistake. And in 1 or 2 years' time, we see City go the other way and we go that way. But who will see? We will see. Big rumours, a replacement. We've talked for ages that we liked Fabian Ruiz, we liked Adam Scott, we like Adam Wharton. It looks like it won't be any of those guys. It's going to be the most likely, if you like, replacement at the moment is a guy called Lamine Camara from AS Monaco. Now, Joe, I've not watched a lot of French football, so I haven't seen a huge amount of him, but people who have, that I've been looking all on social today and watching various clips, rate him incredibly highly. And he does, in terms of style of play, completely different player to Enzo Fernández. Looks a little bit like Casado, a bit of a Kante type, which, from what we saw on Monday, with Chelsea playing a lot in the transition and need to win the ball up high and all that kind of stuff, would make sense, actually. And you see what Barco is doing, which is similar, like always on the front foot and stuff. Do you know much about Camara?
No, obviously, haven't seen him play 1 minute of football. All I would say is Enzo's not going to do that, is he? Enzo's not going to be that player. He looks slow. We've always said that. Great eye for a pass, very good at turning up into the box and maybe scoring a goal for you, but running back and getting the ball back on a regular basis is not his game. So I think that we have to just trust Alonso. And I think that if you sell Fernandes for 120 million, just so that is the fee ends up being, because this guy is being rated around, I think it's about, 60 million or 60 million euros, so about 55 million pounds that they want. Because he's not as much money doesn't mean he's not as good or as good as the position that you want him to eventually play. So I think let's let the guy come in. And N'Golo Kante was at Leicester for 1 season, won the league. We paid 32 million, I think, for him. Arguably one of the best players we've ever had. So let's just wait before we start jumping in and saying that, oh, he's not Adam Wharton or he's not Alex Scott or whatever. Let's just wait and see. If he becomes the replacement, then I think Barco and him have got a very good fight on their hands to nail down that position next to Caicedo.
Yep, said. And I wonder, Joe, whether it'll be one other as well, and whether that Chelsea will do a late surprise in the market in the last few days. I've got a feeling, and I'm not the only one who's, other people have said this, I've just got a feeling if we might go for Morgan Gibbs-White as well from Forest and be a bit greedy and have another option in there. It would be really interesting. Would you like him? He wouldn't start. I don't know where he'd fit, but you'd like him.
Oh my God. Anybody who watches Forest play, he is so good. Oh, is he for England? Didn't go to the World Cup as well, but such a good player. Like to have, if you had Rodgers, Morgan Gibbs-White as a little trio, English trio, God, that'd be something else. But I hope so. I hope you're right. It'd be great. But again, my fear is too many players can sometimes just send the squad off balance slightly. Where does he play? Who does he come in for? Does Palmer get less minutes? Does Rodgers get less minutes? You know, what happens? And it means you can play in a different way. I will say that. You can definitely play in a different way with someone like Gibbs-White if he comes in. But what about Alvarez? What do you think about that? Do you think that's absolutely dead? That's just paper talk?
Oh, it's got to be paper talk, isn't it? It being a ridiculous signing, but I just can't see.
Be fun though, wouldn't it?
I think with a Morgan Gibbs-White, yeah, I mean, I'd love it, obviously, but you look at him and think you can't spend 130, 40 million, whatever Alvarez would be, and he has to start. He has to start every week. I think with Gibbs-White, would he be 60, 70? No. You could...
More. You think more? He'd be in 90. I think he'd be like 90. But I could be wrong.
Yeah,
but Marinakis is not someone easy to deal with, is he? Who knows? But yeah, I agree though. I think Gibbs-White would be a superb signing. But this Kamara guy, if he doesn't end up being him, then I think let's just see him play. Let's wait to see if he comes first. But if he does come, let's see him play and then make a decision and give our kind of reviews on him afterwards.
Yeah, it's going to be a lively last few days of the transfer window, whatever happens. There's still plenty of players that Chelsea need to probably get out as well. You look at Tosin, still needs to find a club. Probably need to find a club for Sanchez. now, let's face it, and one or two others. And we'll do a pod next week and go through the whole transfer window as a whole. And there's plenty to talk about there in terms of what Chelsea have done business-wise with some of these players. And yeah, the board and the sporting directors have had a lot of criticism, but when you go through the business done, some of it has turned out pretty well.
I was going to say that there's that signing, that the young lad from Atalanta that came in this week as well for 40 million, which wasn't cheap. Honest, someone.
Of course.
You have to remind me of his second name, but yeah, he's come in. He's 18. Again, I think the reports were that Chelsea don't quite know what they're going to do with him yet. So that says to me that he'll probably go on loan, more than likely. And obviously David Datro Fofana obviously leaving for Servette, who we famously played in the Conference League not knockout stages, prelims basically, 2 seasons ago. So he's gone to Servette for 2.5 plus 1 in add-ons.
Yeah, they like us, Servette, don't they? They always do loads of nice social posts about Chelsea. Yeah, Honest Ahano, who is £40 million from Atalanta, left-sided sort of centre-back, left-back, bit of a hatto, 40 million. And let's hope Chelsea have found another one. But yeah, won't play in the squad this season, we don't think. Right, after this break, we will talk about our bogey club, Brighton, at the Bridge on Sunday. Joe, Brighton on Sunday. Oh, goodness. They like playing against Chelsea. They always, basically, ever since the new owners came in and basically tore Brighton apart, giving them about £500 million and taking managers off them and everything else, Brighton seem to have constantly raised their game against Chelsea, have a fantastic record against us. One thing in our favour is that someone who often scores for them against us and scored 2 in this fixture last year is now playing in a Chelsea shirt, Danny Welbeck, who we didn't even mention earlier, by the way, but wasn't that a classic Danny Welbeck versus Chelsea goal that he scored for Luton? Against Luton, sorry. Let's get the first one out of the way. If we're recording this at 11 a.m. on Friday, if the Martinez signing isn't announced in the next hour by midday, then he can't play on Sunday. So who are you starting in goal on Sunday? Let's assume it doesn't get done in time. Who's starting in goal on Sunday for you, Penders or Sanchez?
Oh, I think it has to be Penders. I think Sanchez will be a wreck. I think he's the sort of person that wouldn't take this news very well. If he does play, I hope I'm wrong, but I just think that Sanchez is the sort of person that will be a little bit prone to making even more mistakes and more errors. So I would want to see Penders play personally. But even if, all being well in the garden and Martinez is there, do you think he plays after one day of training? Would you play him or not?
I'd play him if he's fit. I know, because he had his injury issue, didn't he? Which is why he didn't go to... it wasn't the only reason the deal to Juventus didn't happen. I think it was money, to be fair, because Italian clubs refuse to pay any good money for anyone. But if he's fit, I'd play him, to be honest. I think he's that experienced that you wouldn't be too worried about him just being able to come straight in. Yeah, I'd play him. But if it's I'm with you. If he can't play, you play Penders and just let Sanchez go and find a new club and have a free mind.
I think he has to now, doesn't he? You can't keep... I don't think Sanchez... Be good if he would stay around, just for you'd then have Penders, Sanchez and Martinez if something did go drastically wrong in the Martinez stakes with his hand or whatever. But I just think that Sanchez probably needs to go and find himself a club now, doesn't he?
I think so. And I think the plan with Penders will be that he'll be the cup keeper. And Alonso actually said, certainly for the Carabao Cup, he said after the game last night, Penders did, he'll have more to do in future games, of course. But he said he'll be the goalkeeper in this competition. So he's obviously been guaranteed at least the Carabao Cup. And I think it's the sensible call. Brighton, you and I talked briefly about this bit of pre-pod. We were looking at their team. Obviously, they beat Villa 4-0 last week, absolutely smashed them off the park, 4 goals in the first 31 minutes. We would say it doesn't seem to matter what the Brighton team is. They're always good. They were just a good, proper Premier League side, aren't they? They're always good against Chelsea as well. Hinchelwood scored 2 against Villa, is really dangerous. Rutter as well. They've been pretty flawless so far. They've actually had 3 games. They went to Norway last night, so they played against our old friends Tromsø from way back when. They beat them 4-0 on aggregate with a 0 last night. The big thing for me is, people are going to smile at this, it is season defining. No, I'm only joking. But it feels like all the talk is this week is all the neutrals and people start to go, oh, maybe Chelsea are Arsenal's most likely rivals for the title. They're the one team who could put up a real challenge this year. No European football. Alonso's got them playing. Is that the best front three in the Premier League? All of this great stuff. It is completely redundant if we go and lose to Brighton on Sunday, and arguably if we fail to beat them at home. So I think it is a big game for us to really learn what we're about under Alonso and see what's different, because we've lost this game, lost this tie plenty of times. What are you looking for from the game on Sunday? Specific, obviously a win, but is there anything like from these sort of games gone by where you've watched Chelsea at the Bridge and just been frustrated in the last few years?
Oh, I just think that Brighton are a very well run team. I think they're very well run from top to bottom. They've always get managers in that have a real style and the players buy into that. You can see it against Villa last week, and Villa have been completely, they're making a few signings now with Jackson and Goretzka just coming in, but they've been dismantled really from top to bottom. Ollie Watkins is off. So they are really starting again. So I think that game that whoever had Villa on the first game of the season would have been delighted, and particularly having them at home in the sunshine, which Brighton did, maybe flattered them slightly. They deserve to win 4-0, absolutely. But what I mean is pleased to play a side that's basically been completely and utterly dismantled. So I think that with Chelsea-Brighton games, they're always very feisty. Brighton raise their game, don't they, every single time we play them. The one victory that I can remember, I think we beat them 3-2 when Fernandez got 2 penalties, funny enough. And I forget who even the manager was. It could have been Potter, for all I know. Maresca, I can't bloody remember. But it was a really hard-fought game right to the bitter end. And I think that whatever happens, Brighton will always dig into the last minute. So I think the pundits have got us winning this game 3-1. I've seen that in more than one place this weekend. It's not that I don't think we can. It's more a case of if we were to go a goal behind, how do we react? That's what I want to see. I think with Chelsea, with the game afterwards, I think it's Arsenal, I want to say. If you were to go to play this Brighton game and lose, just say we did, and then you've got Arsenal afterwards, you could be staring down the barrel at 3 points. We might beat Arsenal, but let's just say you get 3 points from the first 3 games. Suddenly that start against Fulham in the Luton game is almost forgotten about. And that is football, isn't it? It's just your yesterday's newspaper, as it was, your flavour of the month, and suddenly you're dead to everybody. So I think it's a very decisive game for Chelsea in the sense that, like you, we will find out about certain individuals and certain players, Morgan Rogers, João Pedro, Cole Palmer. If they play really flat at the weekend, you'd be worried, wouldn't you? Slightly worried. Oh, God, maybe it's not as good as we thought. As long as they're creating chances, and even if they're missing them, as long as we're creating them and getting in those areas, and we're finding those slip balls like Barco did for Esval last night, we're constantly getting in behind them. You can have an off day in front of goal. I think that's totally fine. But as long as we're getting in and making sure that we're getting these chances over and over again, I won't be worried, even if we were to draw or lose the game at the weekend. But I think from my point of view, I think that Chelsea will be too strong for them. I think Belieber, obviously leaving from Man United, obviously Welbeck coming to Chelsea. Brighton have had a few players leave there as well. They always recruit. We know that. We'll end up buying someone from Brighton again probably next season for 150 million like we always do, it seems. But I think that Chelsea at home, first game of the season, proper game of the season in the Premier League, I'm very excited to see us play. But yeah, just with an air of caution.
Yeah, I hope that we come out on the front foot right from the off. So many games, it felt like under Maresca, it was almost like, let's just let the first half play out and play the second half. It would be like really passive, and we've talked about it so many times, that recycling of the ball to the defenders through midfield, background again. It would just be like almost like torture. And the problem then is the crowd goes flat, and the Bridge can go either way. We know that Stamford Bridge crowd, it can be really good when we're on it, but also the crowd can get very quiet. And I think playing that sort of football just makes the fans, we've been there, like so many times, two of us looking at each other going like, it's dull, isn't it? You end up just having a catch up because it's really painful to watch. I think if he gets them out there, on the front foot, playing, to be fair, like we did against Luton last night and obviously against Fulham, straight at them and can make a fast start, even as you said, even if you're just creating chances and not scoring, I think it gets the crowd up and everyone is ready to get on this train, aren't they? To get on this sort of hype train and be excited. Yeah, it's massive. I think that we've lost, for the records, we've lost the last 4 games against Brighton. Some painful defeats in that time, including FA Cup as well. The last time we beat them was actually that 4-2 at home, basically 2 years ago, which was the Cole Palmer day, where he scored 4 goals in the first 41 minutes was unbelievable. And actually, if I remember rightly, Sanchez gifted them one, maybe 2 of those goals. Do you remember? Was it 2 with terrible playouts from the back? So yeah, looking forward to it. I'm just excited, Joe. Just really excited at the moment to watch Chelsea play whenever we can. And at the moment, you've just got that bring on the next game.
I think the new rules are really helping, by the way. I like the new rules. And okay, last night Chelsea got kind of sucker punched with Danny Welbeck not going off quickly enough and João Pedro having to wait a minute before coming on. I don't mind that as long as it's being adhered to by all referees and both sides in all games, because you know what it's like. One game doesn't equally mean it's the same in another game, which is just frustrating. But I think the speed that Chelsea play now and the speed that Brighton play, it's all action. And you can't take long over a goal kick. You can't take long over a throw-in. You can't. Everything's just get on with it because they're fed up with this ball being out of play for half of the match, basically, which is unacceptable in the Premier League. You're the biggest league platform thing that everyone wants to watch across the world globally, and you've got the ball out of play for 45, 50 minutes. It's just really terrible. So the Premier League brand, I think have done a great job this year actually in saying that if you're going to take long over a goal kick or a throw-in, it's going to be given the other way. And I think it's a corner now if it's from a goal kick, and I think if it's a throw-in, it just gets reversed. But also what I noticed last night, which was good, this is the bugbear of mine, when a left back or a right back run 50 yards from where the ball was spotted to throw the ball. It's just, what are you doing? You could be in the corner flag and you find out the left back's run 3/4 of the pitch to throw the ball. And you think, no, that's a tough position to be in, corner flag. But now you've let him off by running up 30, 40 yards. It's ridiculous. So I'm pleased about that. And I think that the fact that Brighton and Chelsea play so fast, and it will be quite a counter-attacking game from both teams, I think it'll make for a really good game. And I think it'll be a superb game to watch. Game of the week for me.
Yeah, same here. I'm really excited. And you're right, it was almost the perfect time to learn the lesson the hard way about that substitution thing, wasn't it, when you're playing against Luton at home in the Cup? Because undoubtedly that would have been talked about in the changing room. Right? That can't happen again. That can't happen against Brighton, because we don't know exactly what happened, but it looked like Wet was a bit slow getting off. So it's like, learn the lesson, learn from Welbs. We don't do that again. And the other thing, final thought, the new set-piece coach, you mentioned him on Monday. We haven't scored from one yet, but I really like him. I like how angry he gets. Do you see he was absolutely fuming when that corner went terribly wrong? And he's like slamming down. I'm like, do you know what? Again, mentality. I like seeing that. I want to see the passion that we have in the stands matched with the people in the dugout. I think he's going to be a lot of fun to watch. So yeah, bring it on, Joe. We don't want to do a prediction, do we? Predictions always go wrong. Would you want to?
No, I won't do mine because I'm not great at them. And I will predict a victory, and
then it
goes wrong. So let's just leave it at that.
That feels really sensible to me. I'll tell you what, one prediction, we're going to score from a set piece. There you go. An Austin McPhee goal. Right, we'll see you next time to reflect on that game against Brighton. And remember, every little thing's going to be all right.